Hello and welcome back to pattern making from blocks with Let Morris. We're on a journey and we'll be going on to the back of this drawing, and once again we've marked around the back of the block and we've put on the design features that we want. The length, we've determined the length of the skirt, so I'm just going to cut on that line because we're going to use the top section here to make the pattern of our draft. So this is our draft, and I'm going to cut that off on the draft there, and we're going to put that one on the side, and we're going to create the top section of the pattern. So I'm just going to rule a straight line here. I'm going to take that right up to the line. I'm going to mark off this section here, cross the top, put the darts in, mark along the sides along there, and I'm also going to put the darts in because on this side we want the darts at the back, and we're going to mark along the bottom along there, and then we're going to remove that because we don't want that anymore. We're going to mark the darts in because we need the darts. We're going to leave the darts in at the back like that. We're going to add a centimetre seam down the back because we're going to put a zip in, and we're going to take it 8 inches down from the top, and we're going to put 2 little notches there, so that's where we're going to put the zip. And all we do is just add the seam allowance on the top of the waist here. We only need a centimetre, and also we need a centimetre at the bottom, so we just add a centimetre here on this section, and then we're going to come up the side also because we need a centimetre up the side to join, and we just follow the shape around along there. We just give it a nice shaping in there. We just curve that along there. We curve that in, and then we just use that straight line for our grain line on there, and then we're just going to mark on there back skirt, and we only need to cut one of those, or 2 of those, sorry. So this is your back, and we're going to cut 2 of those back skirt, and we're going to cut 2 of those. So that is the top half of your skirt. We've got the darts in, and I normally fold out on the darts before I cut out, so I'll cut some of that away like that, and I fold out on the darts like that, crease it on that line, bring that over to there, and make sure you get a nice run into there like that, and then I'll cut out on that line, or you can trace out on it, so you get a nice line when you cut out. So the dart shapes look like we're getting a nice shape on the back of the top of the dart there, so that when we fold out on there we get a nice fit. So that is your back section along there, and then you must check to see that the side seam match on the front before you cut out, and you make sure that's fine. So that is now your back piece, and then you just put your notch in where to indicate where the zip goes, and also a notch, put a notch there, and one for your darts. So that is the back section for your skirt. And as I said, we can use the back section of for the flounce that we did at the front, we can use it for the back, but you've got to make sure that the back hem is exactly the same as the front hem. Once you've joined that together, from that side seam to that side seam is the same on the back to the next back. So once you establish that they're the same measurement, all you don't need to make a new pattern, you just take hold of your front, and we're going to place that on the fold again, because we want it to be on the fold. If you look at there's no seam going on the bottom, and you place that on the fold edge of your paper. And all we do is you copy out, you mark out exactly the same, because it would be the same to fit. That back goes into there like that, round, follow it round, and it should fit back into that section on there. Or you can measure it to make sure that section fits onto there, and you use exactly the same pattern. You don't have to cut them out again. You could just cut two when you lay on your fabric, but I always like to have a pattern piece for all my patterns, all the garments that I'm doing. So just mark out that. That's exactly, so you've got your seam allowance on there, bottom, and you just mark it on there. Just straighten up the line if it's not straight, because that's a straight line there, and you've got your seam allowance around there, and you just mark it around. So all you do is check to see that you check it by measuring it like that, measuring it round, and you make sure it's the same along there exactly, so you know that will fit into that line. Okay, so once you've got that, just get nice smooth lines on with your French curve, or if you've got a good hand to curve it around. And now this is your back, and you're going to cut one of those, and then your grain line will go into the center of that pattern piece like that. So you cut out that shape, and then once you cut out, you just open out and then put your grain line on. You cut down that shape, and then you put your notches in to indicate for your seam. You only need 1/4 on the bottom. We've got that already on, because you can either super lock the hem, because it's going to be a full flounce on the bottom. So that's your pattern piece. You just open out, put your grain line on there. You can use a grain line going that way, depends on the fabric, or you can use one going across that way. So that would be your back, and that is your back pattern piece. And then all we do now is create a waistband. So to create the waistband, we're going to decide on how deep you want the waistband to be. So we're going to do a waistband of 1 inch, and I like to crease my paper when I make my waistband. Have a foot on the fold, and I'm going to measure a 1 inch waistband. So I'm going to measure from there, mark it up, measure 1 inch, and 1 inch would do. 1 inch waistband along there, and I'm going to measure 1 inch waistband along there as well, and I'm just going to connect up a line along there. So that is my 1 inch waistband fold, because I've folded it. And I'm going to measure my waistband, which is, my waist for this style, it's 26. So I'm going to measure 26 inches along there, and I'm going to mark it, and I'm going to square the line down through there, and then I'm going to add 1/4 inch on that side, and I'm going to find the center of this waist, which is 26, which is 13. So I'm going to find the halfway, and I'm going to put a mark. So that would be my center front, and this section here is my center back. That's my center back, and this section will also be my center back. But on this section, I'm going to allow 3/4 of an inch for my button wrap where the button sits. So I'm going to measure out and I'm going to square the line up like that. So my button hole will sit onto there, and that will be my under wrap for my button. And then I'm going to add my 1/4 of an inch on there. And then I'm going to add my centimetre along the top to stitch to my waist of my garment, my skirt. So centimetre up there, and that's my centimetre. And then I'm going to find my side. So from that point there, from that point to there, I'm going to find the halfway, and that will be my side. Or you can measure it on your pattern, and then from there to there you find the half, and then you put a mark. So that will be your side seam, side seam, side seam. Let's put it in this way because it's going to come off there, and center front. And so that is, this section here is your button extension that will go underneath this, on this side, and that's where your button sits on there, on that side. So your button hole will be on that side, and your button sits on that side. Okay, so that would be your waistband for that style. You can also do a facing for the skirt if you want, but we'll just do a waistband for this one. And the next time when we do another skirt, I can do one with a facing, so that you'll see how the facing pattern is made as well. So that is now your waistband, and all we do is just put some notches in just to indicate side, center, side, and that's your back, and that's your back on this side. And then you can open out your pattern piece and you'll get one piece of pattern, and then I'll put a grain line on it going that way, because it's always nicer to cut your waistband along that way grain, because it doesn't stretch, it's nice and firm. And then we write on here, cut 1 waistband, and we're going to cut 1 plus 1 fuse. And the fuse is to give it a bit of stiffness, or you can use what is called Petersham. I don't know if they still do that now, to give it really, so it doesn't roll over on your waist. So that is your waistband. That looks like that with the notches in. So each notch will go in its right place when you come to machine your skirt. So for example, that is the back. That is the back. So that one will stitch to that one, to there, and then it goes from there to there and go to the side seam, that notch, and then that one comes to the center front, to the side seam, and then back round to the back round to the back. So that's your center front, side seam, and the back, center of the back. Okay, so that is your waistbands. That is your bottom half of your skirt, and these are your front. These are the front pieces here, bottom of the front, and we should open it out actually. So that is the bottom flounce or frill of your skirt, and that is the side bit of your skirt. So that completes your skirt pattern. They look like that. So that looks like that. That's that piece of your front, comes down back, waistband, bottom hem front, and the top half of the skirt and the side half of the skirt. So that completes your pattern piece, and they look like that. So I hope you will get value from this pattern and you're able to create it for yourself. So it looks like this when it's finished. There we go. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.